Alright, so we are going to save a little bit of time in the next video. We're going to skip number 3. We're going to work on number 4. Number 4 is asking us about increasing and decreasing. Try to visualize your little bug starting at 0, our starting line. And what's going to happen is the bug is going to increase until he reaches pi over 4. So remember, this is where our counting rule comes into play. This is 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, 6 pi over 4, 7 pi over 4, and 8 pi over 4. Okay, so an increase, we said, from 0 to pi over 4. Then the bug is at the top of the mountain, and he's going to start working his way down. So from pi over 4, you're always using the x-axis. From pi over 4 until the bottom, he reaches 3 pi over 4. Okay, now he's at the bottom at 3 pi over 4. He's going to start walking his way back up, 3 pi over 4 until 5 pi over 4. Now he's at the top. So from 5 pi over 4 to 7 pi over 4 is a decrease. Remember to keep joining them together through a union. And one last time, now he's at the bottom at 7 pi over 4. Start working his way up. But you want to stop at 2 pi. Don't go too far, just like I just did. So 7 pi over 4 to 2 pi. And again, the reason we stop at 2 pi is because they say to do that. So what I would do is even kind of scribble out after 2 pi so you don't pass it up. Okay, same way, we're going to just use graph 6 for the next one. And these come from, when you're writing the equation or determining the period specifically is coming from those pattern points. So if I'm starting on the y-axis here, that's in the middle. So that's your O max. Remember, you need 5 points. So O max, O min, O. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you remember, if we're starting at an O, we're using the sine function. So O max, O min, O. Right here, wherever I end up, that's one full period. So my period is at pi. Now that we know the period, we can start to figure out the rest of the formula. So period is 2 pi over b, but we now know specifically to this function we're using pi, the end of our 5th point. So to get b, we're going to cross multiply. Pi times b equals 2 pi. To get b alone, we're going to just divide by pi, and so b is 2. So we're going to say 2x. Now to get the phase, the vertical shift, usually the middle starts at 0, but here we're actually up 2 units. So after our parentheses, we're going to put plus 2 for the vertical shift. The number in front is called the amplitude. The amplitude is coincidentally 2. Those are not always the same, but in this case, so it's always from the middle to the top, and it should be equidistant to from the middle to the bottom. And so our amplitude here is 2. Now, if I specifically went from an O to a max, it's a positive in front, leading coefficient. But if instead it went from an O to a min, we would put a negative in front. Okay, so it doesn't go O to min, it goes O to max. So again, we said that the amplitude is 2. The last one for this specific video. Again, the amplitude is the number that's in front, okay? So in this case 4, in this case 2. Notice I'm not using the negative. The negative just means there's a reflection. My vertical shift is always after the parentheses. So this would be down 1. You're using that same sign. Up 5. The period comes from taking 2 pi divided by b. Well, in this case, b is 2, so 2 pi divided by 2 is just pi. Number 8, b is 3, so we're saying 2 pi divided by 3, and I can't reduce that, so I'm going to leave it as 2 pi over 3. Your phase shift is actually the opposite direction of the sign. So positive actually means left, pi over 2, and a negative actually means right, pi over 4. So those should be very, very basic. If I saw mistakes on this unit test, it usually came from the period. And again, that's just because we're forgetting this formula. So I would definitely put period equals 2 pi over b on my note card. You may even want to give yourself this example so that you remember b comes from the number in front of the parentheses there.